this was the big one. This was a trip we had been planning for some time, and we set off from England late on a Wednesday and arrived under the cover of darkness in Dublin, Ireland. We had a week over here, and we had 3 days booked at Glencullen Adventure Park in the Dublin Wicklow Mountains for back-to-back days of bike park fun. Yes, finally at a downhill park. And this one's kind of special. This is where I got my first real taste of mountain biking back in the late summer heat of August 2017. Although of course, back then, I was a sketchy noob, with barely a clue, rental bike and the wrong equipment. The trail features seemed huge and the speeds were high. Now, well, I'm a bit less of a noob, not an expert either. 6 months of constant riding has definitely changed my ability. Well, turned out to be quite a bit more than I imagined. Bright and early on Friday morning, we set out for those 3 days of back-to-back downhill at the Glencullen Adventure Park. And I tell you what, those narrow Irish roads up in the mountains are very sketchy when you have a tow bar bike carrier on the back. It's not a lot of room. Open since midsummer 2017, Glencullen Adventure Park, or more simply the Gap, used to be the Glencullen Golf Course, which closed in 2015. Who would have thought 9 holes and a bunch of blokes ruining a good walk could transform into such an amazing bike park? It's more than just 13 really impressive descents. It's got everything from blue trails through to pro lines, fast and technical terrain, and quite a few of the bike parks I've seen are little more than a porter cabin, a Land Rover, and focus mostly on the trails. The Gap, however, this is a full package deal which is just as comfortable catering to pros as it is catering to complete beginners. With full bike and equipment rental, an on-site mechanic for any mishaps, and fantastic catering, we'll come to that later, Gap has a great atmosphere, and great rest areas to socialise. You get to meet other mountain bikers, which, let's be honest, is one of the best parts of riding. Our 3 days seemed like a good idea on Friday, and it was actually pretty quiet. We mainly had the uplift to ourselves and 2 or 3 other people. Private uplift? The uplift system at the Gap is really straightforward. With Friday being quiet, of course, we managed about 16 runs on Friday, probably about 10 to 15 on Saturday and Sunday, which meant that we had a really huge amount of riding. It was exhausting, but totally worth it. One thing you will notice in some of these clips, guys, is there are some wind noises happening. I apologise, there's not much I can do about that because I didn't previously go fast enough to generate wind noise. I gained a lot of confidence recently, and I've gained a lot of confidence in the 3 days I was here, so there is quite a bit in places. That is something I'll be fixing with the dead cap for the microphone, so in future won't be an issue. And as you saw at the start of this clip, yeah, there were some photographers on this Sunday morning, and that nearly threw me off at the start of the run because I wasn't expecting people that close to the trail. You flashing? Yeah, I believe so. One of the biggest things that I've always wanted to do in mountain biking was to be able to jump, and it was actually here at the Gap where I got my first taste of my wheels intentionally leaving the ground. Not by much, admittedly, a foot, 2 feet, mostly at speed, but it's a start. I actually got air, and I planned to, and it was scary at first, but I've gotten to the point now where I'm hitting drops that I would normally have rolled over before and wobbled. I'm hitting them faster, and I'm clearing them, and it's so much smoother. It took me so long to realise this, and it's actually much more efficient. That gave me more confidence over other rollers to let the bike move, to let the bike come off the ground and not be afraid of that, which means I'm off the brakes more, I'm faster, and it's so much more fun. This is mountain biking.
So slow.
After a hard morning of riding, there is nothing better than a good meal, and the cooking facilities here on site at the Gap are phenomenal. The actual restaurant is the former clubhouse for the golf club, and as you would imagine, equally well appointed with showers, toilets, changing rooms, as well as the lovely restaurant facilities. All the food, from the burgers to the sandwiches, cakes, everything is homemade, hand prepared. It is delicious, and it is so filling. You will not leave that place hungry. Honestly, in terms of having a bike park with this sort of catering facilities, it feels like you're at one of the major ski resorts that does bike park. On most of the afternoons we spent at the Gap, most of our time was spent tackling some of the red and black trails. I think I attempted one or two of the blacks, but mostly this was reds. This terrain was a lot more technical. Obviously I'm a lot slower on these. The ground was incredibly rooty and rocky, which made for incredibly good practice, and I was more capable than I expected, but it was very tricky. I really enjoyed this sort of terrain, and I'm starting to find my balance and my speed, more importantly. So I really enjoyed some of these trails. Probably one of my favourite ones here is called Logan's Run. Very loamy and very, very fun.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, cock, cock.
know, normally I wouldn't give an outro like this, recorded live in the field, on a GoPro, sounding like this, but you know what, it's worth it. From Dublin Bay over there, Dublin, literally there, to an extinct volcano over there, Sugarloaf. This has been Glencullen Adventure Park. I've had 3 insane days of mountain biking. This has been wicked. Thanks for watching, and I need to go and die now. One last run before we leave. Bye guys.